Greetings, this is Our Money, the program on anti-corruption investigations, and my name is Bihus. In spring, everyone had the chance to listen to the recordings from the office of the chief anti-corruption prosecutor, Nazar Kholodnytskyi. These recordings were made by the Anti-Corruption Bureau's detectives who tapped the fish tank. The story aroused much controversy, but we're more interested in a particular part. In it, an MP discussed the details of a criminal case with the anti-corruption prosecutor. The case was opened because of a scheme where the state paid off Akhmetov's debt to a private firm, which the MP had no connection to, of course. He was just passing by the prosecutor's office, and he really wanted to talk to someone, so he went in and talked, and Themis smiled upon him. Nadia Burde investigated that smile. I want to understand our next steps. We had a fucking talk, and that's good and all, but an MP from People's Front in the office of the anti-corruption prosecutor, Nazar Kholodnytskyi. He asked the prosecutors about the closure of some case. I'm in complete control of the situation. You're safe. Their talk is recorded by a microphone hidden in Kholodnytsky's office by the NABU detectives. The recording shows the prosecutor calming the MP. Okay, we had a nice talk. I'll call you back after I ask about this. We'll agree on the investigation. I'll tell you later. Don't fuss. While the prosecutor promised to tell the MP about the investigation, he wasn't going to close the case. You see, I won't close the case just like that. That's just not happening. An ordinary citizen has zero chance to visit the prosecutor's office without an invitation. It's different if you're an MP. Then you can even kick his door open. The day before yesterday, I sacrificed 4 hours of my time to answer questions about a totally made-up case. Lyashko and his party members stormed into Kholodnytsky's office after the prosecutor's office opened a case on his unjust enrichment. The MP didn't like his assets inspected. Can't you dedicate 20 minutes to me? If you don't, I'll dedicate my whole life to you. A great moment to kick the MP out, however. A member of parliament has a right to unobstructed access to any prosecutor's office. The prosecutor is obliged to receive him right away. The anti-corruption prosecutor's office insists that Lohvynskyi also invoked this right, so the MPs can enter the prosecutor's office whenever they want to, Lyashko included. But the tone of the discussions is dramatically different. I want to understand our next steps. We had a fucking talk, that's good and all, but I'm in complete control of the situation. You are safe. So we talked with Lohvynskyi about the closure of the case, as you put it. So what happened next? Did I have the case closed? The case wasn't closed. After the recordings went public, the NABU detectives searched the flat of Lohvynskyi's brother Igor. It was searched as part of the case the MP discussed with the prosecutor on the recording, the case of the Golden Mandarin. Did you hear anything on the recording about the Golden Mandarin? We did talk about several criminal proceedings. About the Golden Mandarin? You will soon hear the official statement. Can you tell me if... I don't want to give you the info which will become very important later. 1.5 months later, the MP still hasn't said what they talked about in the prosecutor's office. But he insists on not having any links to the Golden Mandarin. I have no part in any case with the Golden Mandarin. I'm neither a suspect nor accused in these cases. That's 100% true. Mr. MP is not a suspect because a suspect is an official status in a criminal proceeding. In this particular case, no one has this status yet. However, the case already has the MP's brother, his assistant, and Mr. Lohvynskyi himself is interested in the issue as well, as we can see. By the way, let's talk about the issue per se. 10 years ago, the Golden Mandarin Company was engaged in fuel. That's when it died as a business, retaining some interest as an asset. Because Kyiv Energo owed the company almost $2 million for fuel. NABU opened a case against it because in 2016, the Mandarin returned itself a very old debt, but with state money instead of Kyiv Energo's. The Mandarin made a settlement with the Justice Ministry, applied to the European Court of Human Rights, got the budget money by its decision. All this is now being investigated by the NABU. This company was really unlucky to buy mazout, stored by Kyiv Energo, which is owned by you-know-who. In 2008, Mandarins stored mazout in Kyiv Energo's facilities. The latter returned neither the money nor the fuel, even despite the ruling of Ukrainian courts. In 2013, Mandarin went to the European Court of Human Rights. They didn't get any results. The case remained at the ECHR for 2 more years. Suddenly, in 2015, the State Commissioner for Human Rights of the Ministry of Justice agreed to make a settlement with the Golden Mandarin. It was sent to the ECHR and sealed there. Then, the debt was paid off by Ukraine's state budget instead of the Kyiv Energo, 75% of which is owned by Akhmetov. Kyiv Energo is a private firm. Yes, the state has a share. Nevertheless, it's a private firm, a separate legal entity. It has its own obligations, responsibilities, and so on. And it's not normal when the state pays its debts. Several days after the state transferred the money to Mandarin, Mandarin transferred it to other firms. NABU calls them shell companies. NABU started an investigation in June 2017. First, it searched the Ministry of Justice. The Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office supervises NABU. Lohvynskyi visited its head after the searches at the Ministry of Justice. Okay, we had a nice talk. I'll call you back after I ask about this. We'll agree on the investigation. I'll tell you later. Don't fuss. Maybe the MP was worried that his assistant helped in returning the money to Golden Mandarin. The lawyer Maria Shvets. She conducts the Mandarin case? She took part in the case near the end of the case, yeah. When there were economic issues discussed, she took part in the case, yes. This is the first time the MP told this. In his telling, the $2 million of state money being transferred to a private company is an achievement of his assistant as well. She helps the Mandarin get millions from the Justice Ministry. Before that, the MP himself came to work as an advisor to the Justice Minister Pavlo Petrenko. Lohvynskyi's assistant didn't stop with that. After Mandarin got paid, her company bought the other portion of mazout from the same story. Now the second 25 tons are being scrutinized at court. I can't comment on that. I think that's Mrs. Shvets' matter. I know what we are talking about, but I won't comment on judicial matters. Did you consult Maria Shvets on the Golden Mandarin case? Let me say that again. We have a lawyer's secret on that matter. What the MP called a lawyer's secret is just his assistant's desire to get $2 million more in debt payments for the mazout. The Golden Mandarin private firm gave Kyiv Energo 75,000 tons of mazout for storage. While the fuel was de facto in the energy company's storage facilities, it got divvied up on paper. as part of it was still owned by Golden Mandarin, the one the state paid the debt for. Not the private firm Kyivmenergo, but the state budget. The assistant of MP Heorhiy Lohvynskyi facilitated this. Thus, Kyivmenergo still had two parts left. One of them was transferred through a chain of firms until it ended up owned by the company of Lohvynskyi's assistant. Why does a law firm need mazut, especially with this many problems? It's legally incorrect for the Akhmetov law firm to demand to be made aside of the proceeding aimed at getting the money from Kyivmenergo. Enough about assistance. Why did NABU pay a visit to Lohvynskyi's brother? Before the mazut was bought by the law firm of the MP's assistant, it was owned by a firm registered at the same address as the business of Lohvynskyi's brother. We already had the detectives here. The same address has a company, which was, until recently, owned by the MP himself and his wife, a judge of the European Court of Human Rights, Gana Yudkivska. Lohvynskyi himself worries a lot about the fate of the Mandarin. The case of the Golden Mandarin is a case of state bias against business. NABU should have put behind bars everyone who incurred huge losses on the firm, destroyed it. The firm the MP doesn't have any connection to, if we are to believe him. He's just worried. It's just the detective searching his brother's flat on account of the scheme his assistant took part in, only to restart it later for herself. Thanks to the conversations with Lohvynskyi and other visitors recorded by NABU, Kholodnytskyi is accused of abuse of authority, pressure on subordinates, subornation of perjury, and disclosure of investigation data. He disclosed a lot of things on the recordings, data of the pre-trial investigations. However, all this in a disciplinary proceeding instead of a criminal one. The head of NABU, Artem Sitnik, and the prosecutor general Heorhiy Lohvynskyi filed two separate complaints to the qualifications of disciplinary commission of prosecutors demanding to fire Kholodnytskyi. To say that I disclose investigative data, the complaints have not been reviewed for 2 months. After the recorded conversation, NABU isn't doing anything about the MP at all. Thanks to the law made by MPs for MPs, they still have free access to both the special prosecutor and to the other state agencies. Seems like to discuss more than just state matters. Having an MP status, they go to the people they need to, that can do something about a criminal case or some business. Revoking this norm would allow the prosecutor to close the door both on Lyashko and Lohvynskyi, but the MPs would have to vote on the revocation. That means to deprive themselves of the right to solve their frequent criminal problems directly with the prosecutor. There was a time, in Kiev at least, when crafty children asked the drivers in traffic jams for money to buy paint. Then they painted the fences blue and yellow. Seems like the time has come to do this again. To buy white paint and make the MIA finally put the ID numbers on the helmets of their police officers. The anonymity of the pre-reform police was a big problem in the investigations into police brutality. After the revolution, the new Interior Minister Arsen Avakov said that he needed only a couple of months to solve this. He really stuck to this routine, promising to solve the issue of the anonymity of police officers after every incident of illegal police violence at public assemblies. The anonymity of people who hit you on the head with a baton.
Анонімності тих, хто, зазначу, лупить вас кийком по голові.
Nothing changed. So much time has passed since Avakov's last promise that if he got a brush, some paint, and started signing helmets back then, he'd have finished it today. He could have signed it all by himself in copperplate, but instead, Danilo Mokryk got another serving of promises. By January to February 2015, every police officer, by then reattested I hope, will have a personal badge with a personal number to be worn on their uniform on patrol duty, and a corresponding number on their helmets. Dnipro City, 9th of May 2018. A joint march of Dynamo Kyiv and Shakhtar Donetsk fans ends in massive clashes with the police. The individual numbers on the helmets of the Special Tasks Police are either hidden or absent. The same evening, a photo went viral of a beaten-up woman, or rather of her back. We were the only journalists she agreed to meet on the condition that she remained anonymous. I was facing them. I didn't provoke them in any way to get detained, beaten. They grabbed me by my shoulders, turned me around. I fell on the tram tracks, stones. And they ran over my back. They stepped on my back. It was all torn. Then someone from the police pulled me up and told me, "Fuck off, girl." They threw me back and I fell again. If the Dnipro police had obeyed the law and didn't hide the numbers, it would have been possible to identify them. But I saw neither the numbers on the helmets nor the badges on their chests. I couldn't see any. The first thing we see visually is that she has a so-called road rash. She must have fallen somewhere. The same day the clashes happened, we went to the Park of Eternal Glory in Kyiv. The 9th of May had hundreds of police drawn there. We decided to check the numbers on their helmets. Many actually had them, but still far from everyone. Do you have IDs on the helmets? Hello, of course we do. Why do you hide them? We're not hiding. They're covered. Oh, you don't have one. Why don't you? Why don't I? Yes. I don't because that's what helmets they gave us. None here. And you? Also none. When were the helmets issued? Today. Today, huh? So you haven't worn them before? No, it's a new batch. Good day. Do you have the numbers on your helmets? You don't. And you? And you? I do. May I see it, please? Sure. Here's the number. He has it. Why don't you then? Is the helmet old? No, recent. Recent? Okay, but did they say why there's no number? But there's more. We made another discovery that day at the Park of Eternal Glory. When the Berkut dispersed the student Maidan on the 30th of November 2013, the law enforcers' identities remained unknown. This had to change after the revolution. Avakov promised to. Identification made it into the law, but 4.5 years later, when the police dispersed the Saakashvili protest, a massive number of helmets lacked IDs. Both activists and journalists were harmed then, including Bogdan Kutyapov from Hromadske Press. No, I'm on your side. Get the fuck out, scum. I'm not filming. Lead him out of here. I'm not scum. He grabbed me and kicked me somehow like this with his boot. It was painful, but he didn't break my leg. It looked something like this. I filmed like this to catch his face. I couldn't film like that at the same time. Neither a badge nor a number. The same with policemen who pushed the insider journalist out. How can I prove that this person attacked me? I just can't. Because that person didn't have anything but a shield saying police. Maybe a sleeve patch saying police, but nothing which could be used to say that a person with this exact ID number committed this crime. So that could be anyone? Yes, anyone. I can buy a helmet, absolutely. We know that you can buy anything in a surplus shop. NATO uniforms, basically any person can. I can walk down a street and meet 5 guys in uniforms saying police. I even saw that in a series recently. Same uniforms bought at a surplus store or somewhere else. They can just approach me and say they're policemen. I'll ask them to prove it, and they'll tell me that I talk too much and that's it. The MIA explained that they needed more time to mark all the helmets. They promised to do so. 2 months later, we were walking in the Park of Glory, comparing the helmet numbers, if present, to the badge numbers. Why don't you have a number on the helmet? Ask my superior, okay? Who is it? Yarovi? Yeah. You have a number. May I see if it matches the one on the badge? They probably won't match. Why won't they? Don't they issue it according to the badge number? Please, ask someone else. Who, Yarovi? Okay. Does your badge number match the helmet one? Same thing. Pardon? Same thing. Good day. Does your helmet have a number on it? May I take a look, please? It has. Can I compare it to the badge, please? What badge? Yours. No. Can't I take a look at your badge? You can. Pardon? You can take a look at my badge. I just want to check if the numbers match. You see, the number is different. Back at the end of 2014, the Interior Minister Arsen Avakov promised that every police officer would have a number on their badge and a helmet with the same number. 9 months later, the law on national police was born. It put it differently. Officers of the Special Tasks Police have their badge number additionally displayed on their uniform and on their helmet. Thus, the helmet numbers of the Special Task Police must match the badge ones. The law is silent about other kinds of police having only general provisions. Police officers are prohibited from removing the badge from the uniform or hiding it, as well as preventing the information on it from being read in any other way. Thus, if you can't see the officer's badge, this is a direct violation of the law. If the helmet doesn't have a number on it as well, how can you identify the officer at all? An option is by the helmet's inventory number. Its issue must be documented. This officer was issued a helmet with that number. We asked the National Police for copies of such documents for the 9th of May. Boryspil Airport. An official meeting is going to take place here, and the first Deputy Interior Minister will take part. Heorhiy Lohvynskyi. He's the one we need. Why were the police without helmet markings on the 9th of May? To be honest, I inspected the troops. All the units I checked had the markings. I don't know if there were any cases. It was filmed. Sure, then provide us with this information. We'll sort it out. That's what we inspected the troops for, paying attention to the markings. Why don't the helmet numbers match the badges? If you have any information, then please, we will work on that issue. While Heorhiy Lohvynskyi is looking at the info, we have to remind you that back at the beginning of 2017, 23 MPs registered a bill to improve the identification of police officers. We had all the reasons to promote the bill and to adopt laws which would hopefully rid us of unpunishable police crimes. But then it turned out that the current leadership of the Ministry of Internal Affairs doesn't need this. It should have been simple, with every officer displaying their badge number on their equipment. According to the author of the bill, it was blocked by Avakov personally. He needs the impunity for them to be able to follow any illegal order of his. The legal state of the vague status of the badge numbers and the lack of ability to identify police officers helps this a lot. We met Arsen Avakov before the ministers' meeting. His explanation didn't explain anything. Why is it that the police have numbers on the helmets that don't match those on the badges? I think that the number on the badge isn't the one on the helmets. The law says it must be the same, not the badge number. Article 20 of the law, it says they must match. Check it again, you may have incorrect info, not about the law, but about the registration. According to the law, it must match. I think you should ask this question of an example you saw in Kiev, and you'll find matches in Kiev. There were none, I asked. So what do you want from me? I say must and you say mustn't. I think you are mistaken. I'm not. Okay, then you'll see this on film. Did it understand? Let's do it once more. The number on the badge isn't the one on the helmets. The law says it must be the same, not the badge number. Article 20 of the law. The minister says that the helmet number doesn't have to match the badge one. Then he says, on an example you saw in Kiev, and you'll find matches in Kiev. There were none, I asked. So what do you want from me? I say must, you says mustn't. Two contradicting points in 40 seconds of talking. Half an hour before our talk with the minister, we got a call from the National Police. They answered about the helmet's inventory numbers. Our main department doesn't equipment at all, but the regions did get it. Well, as far as I know, you grab a helmet and go. They could even forget to ask the name of the person who got the helmet. So this wasn't recorded? Did not record. Some units recorded this for every person, while others, as you know, were negligent about this. Issued? Don't really care what the number is. So the numbers on the police helmets may not only be different from the badge numbers, they can be totally irrelevant and useless in identifying anyone, just random numbers in the monopoly of violence. That's all for today. You can watch any of our episodes on our YouTube channel. You can always write us on social media. We're on both Facebook and Twitter. If you have something interesting and important, better write us an email. See you on air in a week. This was Dennis Bihus with the program Our Money. Goodbye.
З вами був Денис Бігус і програма «Наші гроші». До зустрічі.